Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. So what does food mean to you? Well, join me this week as my guest is Urmi Hossain. She is a culture expert, and she's actually become a regular guest. And Urmi was just in Italy, visiting Italy, and she's going to tell us about some of the things she visited and how it is to visit Italy now. Since many people haven't been there during the pandemic or since the pandemic. So she's going to tell us and share some of her experience and some of the dishes that she enjoyed while in Italy. So stay with me. And also, I have a new TV show on eatthis.tv. It's called The Basic Art of Italian Cooking by Maria Liberati. And the last episode, you'll get to see some dishes that I made with a special black truffle oil and a white balsamic vinegar from chefsmandela.com. Check it out. The products are wonderful. And you can try them in the recipes that I gave in my last episode. You could see that on YouTube or on eatthis.tv. And today, she's a regular guest, and I consider her a good friend too, Urmi Hossain.
Yeah,
okay. She's also an author and a culture expert, and she's going to share with us. She just took a trip to Italy and Portugal. She's going to share with us some things about her trip to Italy. If especially I want to know too, because I really haven't been back since the pandemic. So if a lot of you are thinking about going to Italy, or maybe she'll share with us some places that you haven't been. So this should be a fun interview.
Yes.
So tell us, where did you visit in Italy?
So I went to Rome for 3 days, and I went to Florence for 2 days. And it was after a long time that I went back to Italy, and I never been to Florence. Rome was my second time, but it was my second time, but it was really my first time, because the first time when I went, there was a delay with our plane, and then what happened is we arrived really late, so we couldn't, we lost a day there. But this time I stayed in Rome for a longer time, so I had the chance to see the important monuments. We went to the Vatican City, Colosseum, we saw a bunch of things. And it was particularly crowded in Italy this time. It was overly crowded, I felt, with tourists. And it was damn hot. There was a heat warning when we landed, so it was crazy hot. It was very, very humid.
Oh my gosh. Just 1 second. I thought I turned off my volume.
But I didn't hear anything.
You didn't hear anything about how long ago, or how long was it that you had visited Italy? I know you hadn't been there for a while.
Yeah, I think my last time was in 2017.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So did you notice anything that had changed or anything?
Yeah, I did feel like there was a lot of tourists this time, that's for sure. I felt there was a little bit of increase in the prices for a lot of the things, because I remember when I basically got out of the airport, there is you can get a taxi or you can get an Uber, but for some reason Ubers are so expensive in Italy, so it's much cheaper to get a taxi. But the taxis was not any cheaper. The ride from Fiumicino to this downtown of Rome, it was €50 fixed price.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. It was pretty expensive, I felt.
Yes.
So that was one of the things I noticed. The heat, of course, it was very, very, very hot. I was pleasantly surprised that especially in the touristic area, a lot more people were speaking English. To the point that when I would go inside and I would speak Italian, people will still speak in English, and I was like, no, I can speak Italian, just speak to me in Italian. So that was one thing. And what else? Let me see. There's a lot of tourists. There was a lot of new things as well. I remember seeing a Starbucks in Italy, which was my first time seeing it.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, there is a
Where was that
Starbucks.
at? Where?
It's in It's actually in not too far from the Pantheon, if I'm not mistaken.
In
Yeah,
Rome? Oh my
yeah, there is.
goodness. Yeah.
Yeah,
I knew, I think I had heard they were in Milan, but I didn't realize they were putting one in Rome too. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
they have one in Florence as well. So I was very surprised to see
Oh,
that because
yes.
I live my whole life in Italy. I've never seen a Starbucks. I think no one ever mentioned about it. And so now
No.
I actually see that there is a Starbucks there, and I'm thinking, why would you go to Starbucks? They have so much good coffee.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, I know Dunkin' Donuts had tried to go to Italy too. And the last time I was there, they opened up in Rome also. But what was happening, it was the same thing. There were all these like homemade pastries that you would get in the Italian coffee bars. Why would you go to Dunkin' Donuts and get an American donut when you can get all these different pastries? So I'm wondering what's up with Starbucks, why, but you're right, the coffee is much better in
So
the
good.
Italian coffee bars.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you notice like a lot more, modern stuff opening up there than before? Was there a lot more?
There was a lot of coffee shops for sure where we were located because I was basically in downtown and there was like a bunch of things around me. A
Uh-huh.
lot of coffee stores, people sitting outside drinking coffee. Croissant is so good, the croissant in Rome. I think it's probably the best one because it's like so
Yeah.
soft and filled with like cream or
Yes,
pistache.
yes. They call them cornetti in Italy. The
Cornetti, yeah,
cornetti. Yes,
yeah,
yes. Yeah,
yeah.
they have all the different fillings and things. My favorite was actually they have one that they make like with a whole wheat with honey inside. Oh my gosh,
Oh,
it is so good. It's so
yeah.
good. But
It,
do you know, for instance, there's a really famous coffee bar called Joliti in the center of Rome. Did you?
yes, I passed in
So
front
that's
of
still
it.
there.
It's
Uh-huh.
still there. They open like, I don't know, 10 more coffee stores, I think. Like everywhere you walk, there is always a coffee store and there is a gelateria where you can buy ice cream.
Yes.
And so there's so many like on the little corners that you find them as you're walking. And so it's
Yes.
always very hard to choose because they all look
Right,
so
there's so
good.
many. How about did you get to go to, I mean, not a lot of people go there when you're just there on a trip as a tourist, but do you know Ayor? That little zone in Rome where they have the Square Colosseum. Did you ever hear about? It's not really touristy. The only thing that is neat is there's this square. They call it the Square Colosseum, and it was in a Bruce Willis movie, I think
Oh,
Die Hard. There's a Joliti there by this really beautiful park, and I was just wondering if, but it's not really a touristy neighborhood. It's more actually for people that live there and people that work there. There's a lot of office buildings and things. I was just wondering if Joliti was still there. So but yeah, Joliti is really good for coffee and gelato, definitely.
yes, yes,
Definitely. Do,
yes.
do you know do you remember how much? Because I know the last time I was in Joliti, actually the very first time I went to Italy and they had the lira, the ice
Oh,
cream,
yeah.
a cone of ice gelato was maybe like a lira and a half or something. And then all of a sudden it was like €5. So do you remember how much they are now, a cone of gelato?
So basically, it depends on the like
The
ice cream shop
size.
that you're going and the size
Right,
of course. But I would
right.
say like a small one with two flavors, it's roughly around €3 or 3.50.
Oh, €3 or three
Yeah,
fifty. Okay.
the
You
small
know
one.
what? It's probably I was thinking of five American dollars. So that probably equals about five American
Yeah, roughly,
dollars.
I would say. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
roughly.
So that's about the same then that they had it. I was wondering if it went up anymore. So when you went to Florence, tell us, so that was your second time there? Well, really your first time, you said, right?
Yeah, Florence was my first time, and I was basically located in like basically the hotel I was staying. It was, I think, like an apartment that they made into a hotel because it was an
Right.
old building, and and like if you go with the luggage upstairs is so hard. So they had this elevator, which I think they just built,
Oh,
and then you go up. It's like a typical like Italian apartment, and basically
perfect.
we stayed in downtown, and
Huh?
our hotel was literally facing Il Duomo.
Oh, I wonder if what
Yeah.
was the name of the hotel? Because I stayed, the one that I
Um,
stayed in, one of the times I was there faced the Duomo.
uh,
Is it like a bed and breakfast kind of small?
no,
No.
no, there was
Oh,
no
it's a large
breakfast.
hotel.
Yeah, it was called the La Dimora degli Angeli.
Hmm. I don't remember. I don't even remember the name now, but I know one that I stayed in one time did it was really close to or faced the Duomo. So, well, that's
Yeah.
good. What else did you get to see there?
So I went to I so basically we saw the cathedral and it's so like aesthetically beautiful day and night is always like bright, even during the night it's still like because it's
Right.
white, so it's like it still gives a lot of light. And
Yes.
in Florence we went to Gallery, where they
Gallery.
have
Uh-huh.
the statue of David, and that was beautiful. It's gigantic,
Yes.
it's very, very pretty. And we went to Palazzo Pitti,
Yes.
and over there, it's so worth it because once you go inside Palazzo Pitti, you have like three museums that you can see. There's so much history. Then you have access to the garden, which is Giardino Boboli, and it's
Right.
gigantic, like gigantic. And you have like it's literally feels like you're doing a little hike because it's
Uh-huh.
so big. And you go to the top of it, and there is another garden which is called Giardino Bardini, if I'm not mistaken, and you have the view of the city. And before you exit, there is like another thing that you can do for free, which is it's like I think it's like a fort, and it brings it like on top of the hill,
Uh-huh.
and you basically see the whole city, and they have a coffee place on the top, and so you get to like
Oh, wow.
visit, like see the city while you're drinking like coffee. So that was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I've never been to that place. That sounds
It's
really interesting.
it was really nice, and I felt Florence is like it was my first time being there,
Uh-huh.
and it's pretty small, I would say. Like everywhere you go, at the end of the day, you go back to the cathedral. Like this is like it always brings you to the same point. That's one thing that I
Wow.
noticed. Like
Exactly.
I was walking, I was like, oh, I'm probably like far, 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 but we weren't any like further from the cathedral. We were
Further.
always back to the same point.
Right, right.
Yeah, and they have a leather market in Florence, which is pretty nice. And honestly, Italy, like they have the best stores in terms of like shoes and bags because they have a lot of things made in Italy. Maybe it's not
Yes.
that something from a big brand, but they do have things made in Italy, real leather, and it's so much like it's so worth it to pay
Yeah.
that price for the quality that you're getting. So they have all these little stores that like in like downtown, and you walk and you see they have nice shoes, nice clothes.
Hmm.
And yeah, and in Florence, another thing that we noticed was that as we were walking towards Pitti, there was this street with bunch of jewelry store. I don't know why,
Yes,
but as you
there
walk,
is. In Florence,
yeah,
there's a whole
yeah,
bunch of jewelry stores. Uh-huh.
yeah. So that's also we walked there to go to Palazzo Pitti, and I think Instagram promoted this coffee place where they make the best affogatos. So I
Oh,
tried this
wow.
affogato, which is called the place is called Cafe Vivoli, and
Huh?
they make the best affogatos. And I think every tourist that is on Instagram, they just see that and they go there because there
They
is
go
always a
there.
huge
Do
lineup.
you remember or did you go to, there is a coffee bar in the center of Florence, like right by, there's not the real statue of David that they have outside, because they put a fake one there so that the real one is inside the Academia. But do you remember the name of that coffee bar? I cannot think of it. It's right near, there's actually the city hall, there's the David, and I can't think of the cafe. Might be no, Cafe Florian is in another part. I can't think of it. Did you get a chance to go there or no?
I mean, I think we walked near the fake David as well, but I did not
Right,
pay attention to like all the
right. Well,
coffee
I don't
stuff.
even know if that coffee bar is still there either. So
Mhm.
I was just wondering if it was. Oh, that sounds really, really
Yeah,
beautiful. And then where did you, so you went to Florence, Rome, and then
yeah.
anywhere else in Italy?
No, this time it was just that. I mean, I
Well,
do want to go back, but for this time it was just that, and I was just
Well,
eating
you were
so
there
much
for,
pasta.
right. I was going to say for like 10 days that, there's plenty to see in Rome and
Yeah,
Florence. So
yes.
that probably really filled up that time that you had. And I know you really mainly had a week in Italy, right? Because then you went to Portugal. So, so
Yeah.
you didn't have, that's plenty. Like it's even too much to do for that amount of time.
Yeah.
So, so you saw, did you go to the Coliseum? I noticed that's like, did you go there?
Yeah. So I went to the Colosseum, I went to the Palatine Hill, I went to the Vatican City, and thank God I bought the tickets in advance because now what happened is if you try to buy like a ticket on the spot, you have to wait like on these long, massive lines. And
Oh
they
my
have like
gosh.
website online where you can buy tickets like skip the line type
Uh-huh.
of ticket, and you buy the tickets in advance. You choose the time you want to go, and it's
Uh-huh.
great because you just go inside right away.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, that's good then for people to do. I know the very first time I went to the Coliseum, you did not need a ticket. It was just
Oh,
all open. But
uh,
I know in the past few years they've started, doing that where because I think what happened was they redid it, renovated
yes,
it, rehab.
probably.
So yeah, they needed that for tickets
Yeah.
and stuff. Do they still have lots of cats around the Coliseum?
No, not really. I haven't seen any
Oh,
of them.
I think they started a while ago. There used to be cats all over Rome, and I think
Oh,
they were just wild cats that would live in the actually a lot of people would leave the cats eat pasta and they would leave little bowls of like leftover spaghetti out
no
for them,
way.
whatever they had left over from dinner or lunch or whatever they would leave out for them. So I was just
No
wondering, but
way.
now that they charge for tickets and all
Yeah,
that, it's probably so you said you ate a lot of pasta.
I did.
So
I
tell us
did.
about like did you have a favorite pasta dish you can tell us about?
I would probably say it was cacio e pepe, which is what they are
Oh
known for.
yes.
It was
Yes.
probably the best one. I had it like twice. And in Florence, I had this other one that I don't know if you paid attention. Like, I don't know if you're on social media, but they have this one on Instagram where basically they have a parmesan, like an actual cheese, and then
Yes.
they
They
burn
serve
the
it.
cheese and they
Yeah.
make the pasta in the parmesan cheese and then they serve it. That's what
Oh.
I had. I had that one. It was so
Oh
good.
wow, that
It was
sounds
so
really
good.
well. Parmigiano is so good. And
It's
if you
so
get
good.
it there, it's like fresh. So
Yeah,
it's really,
yeah.
really good. But cacio e pepe, that's an actual dish from Rome.
Rome.
So
Yes,
that's a really good place to have
yes,
it. And I know it's gotten so popular in
yes.
the last few years. So I'm glad you were able to have that. That's
Yeah.
really, really delicious. And it's so easy too at
So
home. So
good. So good.
so Rome, Florence, anything else you'd like to add in before we
Uh, so
wrap
one
up this
thing
time?
is, I like for anyone who wants to go to Rome or Florence, I always suggest to book a hotel downtown. I know that it could be slightly more expensive, but it's so worth it because you know what, you save so much time on like metros and buses and everything. When you're in downtown, everything is literally close by because like everything is like walking distance. Like we were literally in that street that is like Via del Corso. So basically
Right?
like it's where they have all the stores. And
All
then
the
we were like
stores.
5 minutes away from like Fontana di Trevi, 2 minutes away from the Spanish Steps, and you have like
Right,
everything nearby, even the small supermarket, pharmacy if you need
right,
anything, coffee stores, everything is nearby. So I always like say like, you know what, you don't need to get a bus, a taxi or stuff like that. You can do everything walking distance. Same thing
right,
when in Florence as well. And I would say like everything is very touristic. So even like in no matter which place you go, you're gonna eat authentic food. It might be that in some places you're paying a bit higher when it comes to restaurants, but you have these
uh-huh.
little coffee stores where they sell like cappuccino or coffees for like literally a euro, and it's so worth it.
Oh wow. Yeah,
Worth it.
you know what? I would agree. Staying in town, it costs a little more, but you're still saving money because
Yeah,
then you just said it's like $50 to take a taxi from or an
exactly.
Uber from Fiumicino, the airport, to the center. So, if you're doing taxi rides like $50 every
Yeah,
time, you're
exactly.
better off because then, like you said, and you can just go out of your hotel and there's so much to do in Rome. If you
Hmm.
just want to walk around, then go back to your hotel, take a rest,
Yeah.
go back again, and just kind of walk around. That is really, the best thing to do is to just to just
Yeah.
stay in the center. You're absolutely right. That sounds great. So did you make any plans to go back yet again? You probably will.
I came back. I was super jet lagged, and I'm already thinking, when do I go back next? Honestly, I do want to go back next, like as soon as possible. I do miss it. I
I
do
know.
miss it. I do miss
I
it a
know.
lot.
I agree. I do too. So I'll be probably going back soon myself.
Oh.
But anyway, well, thanks for visiting. Is there anything new or anything we should tell people about or anything you're doing?
Me, well, the same old me. I don't,
No,
nothing
not the same.
special.
So your book, you have a book, right?
Yes, I have a
So
book.
let's tell people the book again.
So the book is called Discovering Your Identity, a Rebirth from Interracial Struggle. It has been a year since I self-published it. And
Right.
basically in this book, it's more like a memoir biography where I talk about my life in Italy and I make a contrast with the South Asian culture, which is which is also my origins, because I was born and raised in Italy and my parents are from Bangladesh. So I make a comparison between the two cultures and what it felt like growing up in Italy as a South Asian woman.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yes, now I do remember. I know it was
Yes.
culture related. Yeah, if definitely, it's a really interesting book. And tell people, can they find that on Amazon?
Yes, it's available on Amazon. They can buy the paper version or the Kindle version.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm sure that I know it's a really interesting book. So definitely you should read about it. All right. Well, Urmi, I'm sure we'll be having you back again. So I
Yes.
love having you back and chatting with you. So enjoy the rest of your summer and we'll be talking again soon.
Sounds good. Take
Thanks
care.
for being here. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Maria Liberati Show, and thanks as always to my producer, Britton Roselle, and this week's special guest, Urmi Hossain. And as always, you can find me at marialiberati.com, at the Basic Art of Italian Cooking.com, on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Twitter at Maria Liberati, on Instagram at Maria Liberati, on Pinterest at Maria Liberati, on Vimeo at Maria Liberati, the new YouTube channel for the Maria Liberati Show called the Maria Liberati Show YouTube channel, and let's see, on Instagram at Maria Liberati, my Roku channel, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking by Maria Liberati, and now my TV series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking by Maria Liberati, on eatthis.tv and on YouTube. And until next week, peace, love, and pasta.